Awesome.
When
Awesome.
was your last session?
My last session, I mean, I hope my next session will be this afternoon, but the previous one, what day of the week is it today?
Yeah, because that bar, that handle, how you call it? Handle or bar? Handlebar.
I mean, people, I feel like one of the cooler, I answer I'd say like people can call it whatever they want, and I feel like the way I hear it referred to most recently is it's the shovel. It's the same handling that as an inflatable wing in that regard.
Makes
Um,
sense. Sounds
that's
logical when you say it like that.
This episode is sponsored by Foilsessions. Whether it is pump foiling, winging or parawinging, this app tracks time on foil, upwind angles and much more. For downwinding, you can set a destination and you'll get directions on your watch or on the earphones. Try it for free on the link in the description.
This is Up on Foil, the podcast for everyone flying just above the surface. Pump, carve, soar, let's foil!
This episode is also supported by SurfEars, but more on that later.
Gosh, it's late. Is it Thursday
It's
already?
Thursday. Yes. For me, it's Thursday. I think
Oh.
for you too.
I don't think I've sessioned since the weekend.
Really?
Our trade winds went away for a couple days. It's kind of a light thermal now, but we did our first public demo over the weekend. So we were at the beach for that, and that was super cool.
How was it? Everyone interesting, huh? Interested.
I had no idea what to expect because you do all the development, but like you're working with some of the same people, and so it's sort of a process. And to like then be outside of that process and just put it in somebody's hands who's had no introduction to the gear, and like also differently than development's such a process. Like there's so many steps between what you had last year and what you're putting out for this year, that, if you're not taking all those steps, like there's always the question of, is this too big a step? Have we gone too far? At any rate, it went amazing though, because like everybody was crazy stoked. We're going to be dropping. Oh, I guess maybe we did just, I don't do a lot of the social stuff. So somebody else is handling that. I think they just published today, like a little video recap of some riders' feedback from that.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen you explaining how to collapse the Parawing with that handle, because that was like our main question. As soon as, I don't know how many, like maybe 30 minutes after you like dropped that Parawing, everyone's like, how do you stash it? How does that look? How is it? Like our chats were going wild. We have this Parawing gear chat as like everyone stopped working, like probably went to the toilet just to like see what. It's exciting. Exciting times, man. Yeah.
Thank you. I was surprised by what a big question that was for a lot of people. And so from your experience, is it because the front lines are split, or what made that a question?
Yeah, because usually you just like you ran your hands up one line and then just like, because I thought maybe there would be some more tension, maybe, but it looked like you twisted the bar just a little bit to get both lines, or is that just straight?
I think, well, I definitely have like a technique, I guess you'd say, a thing I do if I'm scooping up all the lines, and I kind of drop the wing, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not dropping it into my hands, but like almost in a way, like just whoop, they come together. If I'm sliding up the centers, I feel like there isn't really like a wrist action or something for that. I feel like they're close enough together that I could just rep. But that the line that brings together those front center. I mean, I was going to say the center lines, because there's only 4, so it's 2 wingtips and 2 centers. it wasn't there for that purpose. Which is a whole other thing. I don't know. Are we on already? Should I start describing
Yes.
from there?
No, yeah, let's go. Yeah, we're all in already.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not
Okay,
gonna
great. No,
even bother introducing the episode. We're all in. Yeah.
that's amazing. Awesome. So I don't know where we started this conversation, but yeah, so that line, I feel like the greatest use for it for probably a lot of riders is for relaunch. So it wasn't there for it didn't originate for sliding up the lines. That's sort of a side benefit. It's you when you pull on that, it just grabs the leading edge and just makes it pop out of the water. And we can dive deep into like why is that even necessary as opposed to like just launching it off the bar and angles of attack at different window positions, and it can become probably a whole podcast on its own. But the origins of that line, at least for me, were led to the handle, which was not in development of the S3. It was much earlier, working on prototypes that exploring different canopies support, profile support, and whatnot, bridling. The process led to some prototype designs that weren't depowering.
Okay.
Worked great within a certain level of power, but under more power, like as a great example of that, like flying out on a beach feels great. You go out on the water, you boost your apparent wind with an induced board speed, and like, okay, now I'm way more powered than I felt it on the beach. And so somewhere along the way, we just added a little line, all the lines, to a bar traditionally are fanning out.
Mhm.
And we added a line bridging some of those. And we found if we held that, even these prototypes that were like getting killed on a bar, if you held that, you're like, oh, it's not that there's too much pull. It's not a problem of Parowing depower. It's a problem of bar ergonomics. Like it was crystal clear. It's like we thought it was pulling too hard. Oh no, actually the pull is just fine. We're just not holding it the right way. But and that was like a really great simple solution, and maybe something like people would want to put on their bars of their own to explore it. If they're all like, that handle's not for me, like go ahead and put a line on there, and you'll start grooving on it. It's super effective. The downside, the reason things evolved away from that is the bit of front bridle line between there and your bar connection creates this slop. So it's like
Okay.
the bar's not really engaged. It's just kind of messy. So it was a long process of, how do we get that, but have things still perform the way we want in other regards.
Yeah, because that bar, that handle, how you call it? Handle or bar? Handlebar.
I mean, people, I feel like one of the cooler, I answer it to say like people can call it whatever they want, and I feel like the way I hear it referred to most recently is it's the shovel. Or the shovel, whatever people want to say. For us, or for me personally, I consider it a handle. Like I call straight things bars, and I call this a handle. So it's like for me, that's the difference. Are you riding a bar? Or you're riding a handle. That's my language.
For me, like for holding it, it makes a lot of sense because you're like symmetrical to the wing, not having it twisted around. It's still hard to wrap my head around because I've never ridden something like that. So it's super interesting. If you're right, though, you have like your front hand on that bar and your back hand, the front hand on the handle and the back hand on the bar, or you're just moving it back to be in the same or similar configuration as you were before? Or are you riding one-handed anyway?
Yeah. So let's, before I spill the beans on how I ride it, please tell me, like, obviously as parawingers, you and I, we're coming to this different idea for parawinging, but for you, what directly preceded parawing? Was it inflatable wings? Was it kites? Was it something else?
Well, I started with windsurfing.
Okay.
So it was the boom, and then kiting, and then winging, and now
Okay.
parawing. So
Great.
pretty much
So
everything.
I mean, we can connect this to all of those. Going back to windsurfing, somebody at the beach said to me, "Oh, it's sweet. It reminds me of the Z-boom." If you're old enough to remember that.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that spending time in cold water and wind can cause your ears to slowly grow extra bone, sometimes enough to block them completely? It's called surfer's ear or exostosis, and it's part of your body's natural protective response. But ear problems aren't only about cold. Warm or polluted water can also lead to swimmer's ear, infection and inflammation, whether in pools, lakes, or the ocean. SurfEars is the original patented earplug from Sweden. It's modular, customizable, and comfortable, designed to seal from water while keeping hearing and balance intact. Sustainably made and trusted by water people worldwide.
It was a windsurfing boom that like had a kink in it, had a
Okay.
bend, and so your front hand would be at this completely different angle.
Okay.
In a, it's actually pretty different than this. The design of this handle, it's more in line, like some other brands are like having some curved portions of the bar. It's more in that spirit, which is something we spent a lot of time going, is this a more simple solution? And we can dive deep into why we didn't find that to be the case. So windsurfing to kiting, I mean, kiting, we were accustomed to holding it exactly this way. I mean, this is your steering.
Yeah.
Interestingly, on this, it does have some steering effect. It's subtle enough that even for me, I'm like, is it doing something or not? I'm not even really sure. But if you reach up and you pull one of the sides, you're like, oh yeah, for sure, it's doing something. More tangibly, however, is that like that you're straddling them. My bar's upside down here, but it gives like a feedback into your interface with the wing that it's like you can kind of feel where the wing is at. Like this follows the wing. Like you get back on this and there isn't that sense of, I don't know. It's just different. But at any rate, I'm straying from the fact that, as kiters, we steer like this and this travels, but this is doing the same function. These are your backlights to your kite.
True.
And this is a steering. And so in that way, I feel like it's quite inspired by kites. And then you said inflatable wings. And somebody pointed out to me, I was blind to it, but they're like, oh, the orientation of this and this is like your flagging handle on the leading edge of the wing. And these are your handles. So some beginners here, like my wife, she'll hold the leading edge and because she wants the total depower.
Sure.
Makes it easier than being on the two handles. So it's like, it's the same handling that as an inflatable wing in that regard.
Makes sense. Sounds logical when you say it like that.
But I blah, 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 all of that. Your question was just hand position. And again, we can describe that a lot, but to be specific to it, the center of lift, of propulsion, of power from the wing is roughly in this location. And so your two hands are sort of straddling it, and you can adjust your backhand position fore and aft to sort of change the relationship of how much load is going into what hands. But that's the sweet spot, if you will. Yeah. And so it wouldn't really make sense to transition to riding. That's why you'd be like stalling it like crazy. Yeah. But there are all sorts of new ways to hold this and hand positions and that. And I mentioned to you earlier, I don't know if it reached this recording, but we did a beach demo, and the people that showed up for that had watched some of that content about, where to put your hands in all these different ways, had a much, much easier time, like immediately having fun on the water with this. People that just came in cold had no idea. It was a slower process for, enjoying it, figuring out where to hold it, where to get what you want, like come back with questions like, And we've been trying to address those questions by adding to the content online of like, well, where do I put my hand when I tack it, or different things like that. But
Do you
roughly
ride
that.
with a harness sometime?
Yes. If you'd
Oh.
asked me that question a year ago, I would have said, yeah, not really. Oh, I got a phone call coming in. Is this messing us up? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
can hear.
Yeah, like a year ago, I was not enjoying riding with a harness. I would do it as needed. We worked on some harness accessories, but I was like, for me, why I conceived of the Parawing in the first place and did this thing and thought maybe nobody else is going to be interested in this category whatsoever. For me, it was like a logical step in wanting to foil surf. We were kiting, we were like ditching the kites, and we were winging, and we were ditching them with sea anchors. Like it was always the goal, just to get rid of everything and just ride a wave. And so I wanted something I could, go upwind enough to get back to the peak. Got a right-handing wave. We're gonna go downwind while we're surfing. We need to get back to the peak and just repeat. And as I wasn't traveling great distances, like hooking in and grinding was not my thing. I just wanted like ultimate simplicity, no hook to get tangled. It was just for surfing. Where it changed for me is we traveled a bunch in the development process for this latest product offering. And a lot of times I'd be in places where there wasn't really waves. It was more bump riding. And so like launching in a funky place and having to travel somewhere and go upwind, no shuttles to do your upwind, downwind. And that's when I was just like, oh, why haven't I been riding with a harness all along? Like, this is great. So yeah, I'm into it now.
With that handle, with that bar, do you need like a single attachment point harness? Or can you have like the 2 attachment points?
Yeah, great question.
Well,
All the work we did was focused on single attachment point. I think it was, with the thinking, with the idea that we wanted like nothing under or around our hands. So this being the bound points is, as I described, like creating a modified harness design. I modified in terms of like mounting in this, kind of unique position. So it's got kind of 2 ears that loop around. But the position being related to the balance point. And that's a function of the handle design, as well as the bridling and the wing, like all together sort of defines that point. However, looking at it after the process is all done, I'm like, well, it's all about straddling that point. So it'd be perfectly fine to have a 2-point position yielding that same balance point. And we do have a harness line from last year that would probably do that, but it would end up under your hands.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not so comfortable. We're still on that bar, and your bars have evolved quite a bit. If I compare it to other Parawings, like your Malika one was that classic bar, right, with some fabric on top, and then already the next year, with the Kanaha, I remember, super short, and I thought, well, this is too short. How can it be? And I held it in my hands, and it was just perfect. It's at the perfect spot. As you said, like this point where it pulls is just where you want to have your hand, super comfortable. And now this, like the bar for you is pretty important. It's a pretty big thing with the Parawing.
Yeah. And thank you for remembering all those iterations. And like I'll add to that to say some of the stuff that led up to that first Maliko, tube webbing covered first launch product. I mean, the bar started out, this long in early prototyping. I was just like, oh, I thought I needed that for controlling all the angles of attack over the wing and this and that. And, um, I got some encouragement of like, that looks kind of funky. Why don't you shorten that up? So it was a process even getting to the original Maliko. And even before that, like for me, it started with the inflatable wings. And you asked a question about harnesses. Like part of, I think, me being slow to being receptive to the idea of a harness with my Parawing is because I was not a harness user with my inflatable wing. Like I wanted the right amount of power. The performance was such that I had to depower and forward flying and everything I wanted in an inflatable wing. And so I never had a harness and a hook. Like I was coming from kite foiling, I was happy to get rid of that with an inflatable wing. That was a movement in the right direction. So I don't want to put the harness back on, but I one day for whatever reason just took a loop of line. And I don't know if you've seen this content at all or whatever, but I like would loop it around my back. It would sit on the outside of my handles, just outside my hands. I could loop it around my back, and I could even take my arms off and rest on a line. It was like an easy substitute for a harness with no extra parts except this line. And then one day I'm like, oh, let me fly it on this. And it was just kind of this goofy thing, but it got the wheels turning.
Yeah.
Both I bring this up on the subject of like, what is a handle? What is a bar? How do we control our Parawing, and what are the actual dynamics of it? And some people have been like, whoa, how did you figure out how to put a kite with the bar orientation as opposed to the kite orientation? It's like, well, because it came straight out of winging for me. That's how we fly the wings. Anyway, what were we even talking about before I started rambling?
Just I think was about the bar and these iterations of the bar. And maybe because I want to get all into that S3 and what it does, but maybe just like looking back when you look back at that Maliko, when you first came out with it, did you think that it was going to be that big that people are going to freak out about Parawings?
No, I'm making myself a note to come back to bar, but to answer your question now, no, I thought it would be like, already developing it on Maui, and it's not like we were trying to make it super public, but we also weren't completely hiding. And like people were looking at me going, what are you doing? Like that thing looks goofy. And I'd like go out and ride and the line started out much, much longer. Splice lines instead of sleeve lines. How long? Oh, like way out of reach, double out of reach. Like, I mean, how long? It was every length, because for sure there was like, okay, well, let me fly this thing like a kite. Okay, well, let me just fly it onto bridle. Where's the sweet spot? Is it 5 meter lines? Is it 10 meter lines? Is it 20 meter lines? Can I even just hold it?
You could have come out with the 3 meter lines, and people would have thought, well, this is how parawing must be.
And for a while, it was probably pointing in that direction, because to get good low end, to get up and get going, like the longer I went, the easier it was. So I'm like, what's the sweet spot in terms of making it effective, making it work, putting the performance there, the performance in those regards, but the ultimate performance is I want to put this thing away and surf. So like, where's the balance? I wrote say something about the bar. I guess what I wanted to say about the bar was like, how old is this category? Parawinging. August 2024 is when we launched. So that's
for me even short. For me, 1.5 years maybe.
Right. So like to get stuck into a bar with 3 attachment points or a yoke, or like to get stuck into this is how we have to define the sport, it's way too soon for that.
That's true.
Like as kiters, we'd still be on 2-line kites, no chicken loops. Like kiting wouldn't be kiting if it didn't have the breathing room to evolve and grow and get the performance that sport has today.
but it's running so fast. Like brands coming out with another iteration of their Parawing in the same year sometimes. I mean, that sounds crazy and also kind of unhealthy. How's that for you?
Uh,
Like, are you under
uh,
pressure by that?
under pressure?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like the healthy side of that is like I know for me what defines my process of product changes, because the work is always there. And so you're like always trying to make it better, trying to make it better. And it's never perfect. So the process would go on forever. But when you go back to the product you're currently offering and you're like, I wouldn't ride that anymore. I don't want my friend on that. Then you know it's time. Well, I better like say, well, we've made it better. It's time to do something. So like any product, any brand, however you want to describe it, like if they've got something better, great, it's time to roll it out. If that's once a year, twice a year, and the sport being so new, it's probably normal and healthy that things are happening fast. I feel I've asked myself the question, rewinding a year ago, we launched 3 single skins, followed shortly by a double skin. Like, I feel like as a brand, we're guiltier than anybody of cracking the
True.
lid on the idea of, oh, you need this for this and you need this for that and this other thing for another thing. And that was our reality based on launching that original Maliko and then seeing like immediately how different people were using it so differently. We're like, oh man, that guy in Baja in La Ventana, that's like to access their bumps, they're so close to the beach, they pop it up, they ride 20 seconds, they put it away, and they're gone for however, a 40-minute downwind run. Like what they want from a Parawing is a foil assist, it's like, don't care about upwind. I just want to get on foil and put it away. Totally different than like my surf it lapping or all these other things. So we're like, okay, well, to sensibly offer the best performance for how these people are using them differently, we need to do all these different things. And that was a year ago. And like, it's been crystal clear since that, all those different riders using them in different ways, I kind of feel like we all want the same thing. Like how important upwind performance is, it's crazy important to one person, but like the other person's like, well, if I overshot my run, I need to come back. Still nice to have some upwind. Like all of us throwing it out of our pouch, even if we're just going to use it for 20 seconds and put it away. Like none of us want to get killed. Like throw it off, and, get drug off our board. Whether your board's 90 liters or 25 liters, we all want it to be comfortable. So that for us was like, okay, like let's be real about the riding experience and what we all want, and to just have a single model for this year just feels so refreshing, feels so full circle back to like the opportunity for this sport that, it's kind of simple. We're hydrofoil riders, like, yeah.
When I think back, as I did like this is one of my first Parawing videos, really. I got the chance to test 8 different Parawings and compare that. And one of those was the Maliko. And I was amazed how easy it felt and how good it works. And then I used it a couple of months later. Like brands were on their V2s, even you. And I took the Maliko out again, and it was still very good. So that was really nice. It's for me, because I need it. I'm not the best rider. A quite easy Parawing. I really liked it a lot. But my question is, because then you came out with those 3, the Ka'a, the Kanaha, and the
Maliko 2.
Ka'a. No, what was it? The Maliko 2, yes, right. And those are for specific places on Hawaii, right? So different riding styles. So on one place you go more upwind than on the other one. How different are Parawings in terms of, like, can I use a Parawing that was designed for Hawaii, for upwind downwinders. Can I use those in Switzerland as well? Or are the bumps different? Is a BRM Parawing that works in Hawaii, is that going to work in Switzerland as well? Or are there differences as well?
Gosh, that I just get flooded with so many ideas from that question. I mean, the last part, Switzerland, the first time I visited Lake Silvaplana was in 2001. Like I don't know how close are you super nearby there or different lakes?
It's like 3-4 hours, but I'm there every
Oh.
year for 2 weeks. So yeah,
Okay. Nice.
pretty close.
What a magical place. When I think about what bump riding downwinding might be here, other places, like one of the biggest things, we don't make foils, but like I feel like the foil can be so different. Like I have a better time downwinding in the gorge or the south side of Maui than like the north shore of Maui. Like the speed at which the bumps are moving and like how much of it feels like a race discipline versus feels like a surfing discipline. Like, so, I mean, that's going to heavily influence our foil choice and different things. On the Parawing side, for me, traveling, having more of the development happen outside of Hawaii had a really big influence on the final outcome because we were working on designs in single skins, hybrids, double skins, all of it. And I feel like just on Maui, for years and years I've heard people say, "Oh, Maui's Maui," and it's not. That's just its own bubble. And I'm like, what? Like, in regards to like wind quality, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's very often and very windy here. So yeah, that's nice. But if for anybody that's ridden on the south shore of Maui or when it's like peak summertime and it's crazy strong and easterly, like it can be just a gnarly, gusty, not friendly wind. So it's like, what are you talking about? Maui's not that easy. But one area where it is easy is where we most commonly ride. We're a bit downwind of a reef. It breaks all the chop, the water, and we're not dealing with shore break or onshore winds or all of the things that are very real challenges for different locations. So if developing a product like that requires easy conditions like that, it might perform poorly in other locations. And yeah, so traveling and being like, okay, can I manage to get out with it in this onshore messy condition where I need to paddle out to deep enough to even be able to start getting on foil. I've got seaweed everywhere. Like everything's a complete challenge. You have an amazing Parawing that works perfect in perfect conditions is not what you want to pick when things go bad. And even, like, I mean, that applies to so much of probably what we want to do as Parawingers. Like our best downwind runs might be in the gnarliest, windiest, choppiest conditions. So it's just like, yeah, having the gear that we enjoy.
Yeah. And at least for me, if I'm out there and there's a lot of wind, it's kind of a fight sometimes just to get on foil. And then as soon as it's packed away, everything becomes silent and it's just a different thing. But then again, the Parawing is packed away. You mentioned racing just before. Have you watched the World Cup in Lookout? Have you followed that at all?
I've only seen quick little clips and descriptions. It seemed like there were not a whole lot of competitors and the wind was really, really light, which I would have imagined for that place. It would be like ripping crazy 40 knot offshore is what I would have expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what their plan was. Didn't turn out that way. But now we have this S3 of yours, which is supposed to be very good which is supposed to have a very good low end. So that would have maybe worked good there. What does it make like a good low end parawing? Is the material even lighter? What fabric are you using? Can you talk to us about that? What makes it a good low end parawing?
Yes, I think the weight of it is a new material. It's a lighter material. It's a 26-gram material. The weight does totally matter for me. That directly crosses over from kiting. You know, how much of the lift you're using just to keep your wing aloft. You know, like as much of that as you can translate into line tension instead of just support for your device is a thing. But like, I feel like that's too far out, too theoretical. Like, I feel like much more real in parawinging. What gives something good low end? I mean, it's really simple to point at things like line length, like we touched on earlier. Like parawinging started at every line length. So how do you balance between the longer, possibly the easier to get on foil, but the less convenient, the lower the performance for stowing? So finding that balance. Certainly with our second generation gear, we swung very far on the range of like crazy short lines, which are really fun to fly and like a joke to pack away, but to some degree at a sacrifice of low end. So finding that balance in line length. But I feel like a lot of people recognize that. What is newer for me, and I think is maybe something interesting for people to like be observant of and think about, is when you're pumping, in addition to all those other factors, how much is your wing absorbing that? How much is it flexing? Like, because we're not flying a kite around the sky where we have this like huge power stroke, our power stroke is so small. Like, plus we're on a board, we're trying to keep our balance, we're rocking around, we're not even using the full potential of our human bodies. So it's just like we've got this tiny little bit of thing. And as it's such a small thing we're dealing with, like any tiny gain you can get in the directness of like, I do this and it's like, boom, the lines are right there. As opposed to if I give up even just a couple inches of wing flex, it could have a 25% reduction in the effectiveness or whatever, because we're dealing with something so small. So I just keep using the word directness. When you like pull on it, the lines are there and the wing isn't flexing. And that's not why we, the way we achieve that into S3 is the rear 2/3 or 1/2, depending what parawing you're comparing it to, of the canopy has way more bridle attachment points. As I said, we did it for different reasons, but what we came to realize is like, oh, when we pull on it, the whole wing isn't just doing this anymore. It's like right there. So it's quite a neat thing, especially if you keep it high and just give it some pulses. I mean, I said earlier we did this demo day, and some people came back with some bold claims like, "Oh my gosh, it feels like an inflatable wing." It has that level of like, which I haven't touched an inflatable wing for a long, long time. I'm not going to make that claim, but I was like, wow, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. So your question was low end. I guess I would point to that one thing, and it's not purely just a number of the bridle attachment points, but specifically how we've designed the bridling, their bunching, controlling differently the center portions of the canopy versus the wingtips at really, really different angles of attack. We're not just flying our parawings over our head. We're very oftentimes flying them really, really low. And so that angle of attack, especially at your wingtip, is a big part of the, having the handling, the performance we want for how we parawing. Uniquely different from other sports. How we would have approached that last year is that the whole wing was much more of a C shape, and so it gave us that real estate out at the wingtip to control the angle of attack and get that performance when it's low. This one, longer line length, much more open arc shape, much more projected area, a lot of things going on, but that wingtip is at it. The bridling is really controlling that wingtip angle of attack. So, and that has so many, just like the hand, everything affects everything else. So a part of the beauty of that bridling, it was all for support, for performance, for like flight character, but it bunches those lines so that when you retract and when you're putting things away, it captures them. So you don't like the rear lines, for example.
Yeah.
Like in a worst case, there's a bunch of lines, they're all full length, and when you retract, they're all dangling around trying to get tangled on stuff. Where
They
this
will.
yeah. So this bundling, actually, when you retract it, it almost pulls them up and into the canopy. Like somebody called them spring loaded. Like that's cool. Like they, just put them away.
Is that super light fabric, how is that going to cope over time? Like, isn't like the lighter material, well, isn't it gonna like get bad quicker?
All else being equal, I feel like, yeah, weight and durability are going to be at opposite ends of, or am I saying weight and durability, or at any rate, but there's all different qualities of material, and this is like the good stuff. I mean, the best available to parawinging at this point. It's not brand new. It's been around. It's been in the paragliding space for a long time. So yeah, it's the good durable stuff. Our previous was a 32 gram, different supplier, different material, but very similar in nature. And like, it's amazing how well these Parawings hold up. When we launched the first one, it was for sure like, we can test all we want, but what's going to happen when you get it out into more hands and more places, and like what are you going to learn? Before starting board riding Maui in 2012, the 10 years prior to that, I worked for an Ash. Like, the idea of developing a product and putting it out and learning things afterward is not new to me. So it's like, okay, Parawings, like, is it the stitching? Is it the material? Is it the attachment points? Is it the bridle lines? Like, what's it going to be?
What was it?
Well, on our original design, it was the bar, it was the tube webbing on the bar.
Okay.
That was, under normal use, everybody using it, the way it was front loaded, different things, like that would be the first thing to go. So obviously you address those. What are the solutions? How do we both make it more durable while keeping the performance, ideally progressing the performance? But like from the canopy, the ribs, the attachment points, the lines, they're all like crazy robust. Stuff, I mean, people here on Maui are still riding the original Maliko, like every day into surf, getting destroyed, like getting pounded, and the gear is holding up like crazy. So I mean, coming from inflatable products, where like, it's just such a bummer that it's not going to last as long as we want them to. Yeah.
When you started with the S3, that was probably a long time ago. Usually these things take a lot of time. When you start doing stuff like that, do you start from your original one or from the last one? Or do you take a clean piece of paper and you start new?
Fun question. I can't point to a start or an end. Like, everything influences everything else. I mentioned to the point of effectiveness for getting on foil and the additional product points and the support and that. And I'm like, that wasn't the original idea. The idea there came out of the double skins were in development for a long time, parallel to single skins. The single skins were ready sooner. It was double skins. Some of our first prototypes for double skins and hybrids, and we went with single skins just because of the I mentioned the longer lines, and I said, people thought I was crazy. I'd be way out in a deep blue, like, to go way outside and hunt the bumps and that, and I'd like put it away. I'm like, this is great. Like, I started to learn the technique and the lines were long and I had to like kind of take 2 passes at it to put it away, but I almost never got it back out. Like it was always going to be a tangle fest. And so I'd be sitting on my board, untangling lines as the downwind foilers are zooming by, like, are you okay? And, you know, fun memory of that. Like, I don't think anybody ever stopped. They always asked a question as they were zooming by. I'm like, you didn't wait for the answer. What if I'm not okay? At any rate, I forget. Oh, but just the point being about, you know, having the single skins, reducing like the number of hassles as this thing was like new and like, how do we even make this thing user friendly? Single skins off the waters is why we landed for that as our launch product. But double skins were always in the mix. And then giving that our full focus after the launch of the single skins, finishing up something that we brought to production. I think you got one. Let's talk about that. The Pai'i'a. But, you know, for me, the beauty of the Pai'i'a wasn't about upwind, wasn't about racing, or, you know, it was just comfortable. It was something that I could sheet out. And we talked about harnesses. I wasn't really a harness user, something that I could, from the bar, be comfy, have deep power, ride Maui's gnarly winds. And I'm like, at that point, and this is maybe too long of an answer and too much of an aside, and it's very late for you. So say, enough, Greg, I'm going to bed.
I can go. It's epic, man. Go forever.
Thank you. So,
but let's talk about that Pai'i'a. Yeah.
Yeah. So that comfort for me on the Pai'i'a, I was like, I don't think I'm going to ride a single skin ever again. They're just, they're too brutal. They're too physical. Like, sure, I could put a harness on, but I mean, this, like, I don't want to sound like a hater and like a harness hater, because we talked about it earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, harnesses are great. Because if you had asked me then, I would have been like, bro, harnesses, what that says to me is they're a Band-Aid. Like, I didn't have a harness in winging. If I need a harness to ride a parawing, that's a symptom of a problem. Fix the problem. Don't just put a harness on to mask it over. Yeah. And so, like, for me, that was the Pai'i'a. That's why I'd never ride a single skin again. And the idea was, well, let's try to make a single skin as good as we can. People want them for the packing. People that are happy to ride with a harness, like, okay, what can we do with a single skin? And for me personally, like, how double skin like can I make it? So the double skin has perhaps interestingly is that the Pai'i'a is the exact same aspect ratio and outline as the Kanaha. So it came straight, you know, we're working on all these things at the same time. So it's just like, but we know how the Kanaha is working. The Kanaha and the Ka'a kind of split both out of the original Maliko. We'll go a little bit higher aspect. We'll go a little bit lower aspect. We'll play around with bridling, turn to a yoke, all these changes. And those two models, specifically those two, the Maliko 2 is an outlier in comparison, but it's like developing those two in parallel. It's like, oh, one would get a little bit better. Like, I really like this one. I don't think this one's so good. Change. Oh, wait, no, that's the one I like. So it was like this fun process. As was the S3 compared to like hybrids and double skins we were working on at the same time. But I digress from the point of like, a double skin has all those ribs. So, I know what the point I was trying to make. The Kanaha ended up being more people's favorite. Not everybody by any means, but people were like, it's stronger upwind. It's more comfortable, you know, while the lower aspect of the Ka'a maybe has more low end, the upper end of the Kanaha, I'm going to ride more powered up. Maybe I want to ride a smaller board. For all the different factors, people were loving the Kanaha. It's like, okay, well, let's start with that. The Pai'i'a, and again, changing variables, like, okay, if that's working, let's take that same thing to a double skin. Let's make it higher, low aspect. The Pai'i'a ended up the same. The S3, while exploring those same things again, like, okay, to make a single skin work better, should we go higher aspect? You know, now you've got to fly it higher. That's not as fun. You've got these like more broad wing tips that when you pack it up, they're not as user friendly. That's not fun. So the S3 ended up the exact same aspect ratio plan form as our Pai'i'a or Kanaha. And so the number of, to compare it then directly to a Pai'i'a, all those ribs and how they control the profile shape of every cell. It's like, okay, like let's move that over directly into a single skin. And that was the idea of like, okay, well, we don't have the cells, we don't have the ribs. We're going to put attachment points there, try to control that profile. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So you said you were a windsurfer. What
Yeah.
were the years?
Well, I'm 86. Well, I'm 86. I started when I was like 7 or 8.
Okay.
Did probably most of my windsurfing days in the like early 2000s.
But you said 86 you started?
No, 86 is my year of birth.
Oh, damn, I'm old.
I'm 40.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm ancient. I started windsurfing.
How old are you, man?
Well, I started windsurfing in 84. So that'll tell you
Okay.
something. And at that point, like our windsurf sails, like, I mean, my first windsurf sail had no battens, and then like, ooh, stuff got good. And
It's coming back. It's coming back.
nice. I'm ready.
Have you seen it?
Windsurfing?
No, I mean, it coming back. Like the windsurfer is coming back.
The original?
Like yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen Balls on the foil with the? That's crazy.
No. With a
He's been
full
foiling
size.
with this very nice triangle shape with the beautiful colors. They made it new again, and he was foiling with it like a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
Crazy.
I love that. I love that. I mean, that was my first
But
love.
anyway, you were saying
Okay, so
sorry.
my point there was that progressing windsurfing sail technology, the profile curve, it's flatter out the rear, and so like adding battens, it was always on the trailing edge. You could have a nice soft luff in the front profile curve, but like controlling that flatter section of the profile out the rear. And so like single skins, having all that additional bridling out the front, it's, at the sacrifice of that section of the profile, which ideally wants to be flatter, like it needs to support to have that. So I'm not sure why, with the original Maliko, I just sort of followed that formula. I borrowed from what was already the paradigm within that single skin category, but that it's been some time now. There's been time and space to question things like, well, why is it that way? What is that doing? You look at the profile curve of a single skin supported that way, and in every area where it goes from a certain level of support to a lesser support, you see the distortions in profile shapes at that point. So have it, like the Pai'i'a, you look at that thing fly, it's just so beautiful from front to trailing edge. And it's like, how do we get that same accuracy in a single skin? And the result is massive, a better supported, therefore cleaner profile shape. It flies so much further forward in the window. And in the parawinging experience, that like I said, like every little bit of gain in directness helps you get on foil. Every bit of gain of forward flying, and we could talk about that in terms of other categories like double skins in this and that. But in the single skin category, every little bit more we can get is, that forward window position. Like it's easy to think of that. Oh, that's upwind. Okay, sure, we're talking about that, but in addition to that, it's D-power, that when you sheet out, it doesn't drop back and load up and pull you downwind, but that it stays forward, like has such big impact on more effective D-power.
I have a question. We still have to talk about the Pai'i'a, but I was out with a hybrid from 777, and a friend of mine, Tizian Burgener, he had all your BRMs as well. He pointed out something, because the 777s, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, they have this arc as well. And so I was riding, and then he said, there's a turbo mode. So I grabbed like the front part of this arc and pulled it towards the bar, and then the Parawing got flatter and so much faster. crazy fast. Like you could really feel the acceleration. Have you like tried things like that as well? Because you need more power to get on foil, but as soon as you're on foil, you need way less power, basically. Have you played with stuff like that as well?
Um, I I can't perfectly picture what you engage and its result, but the larger question of like adjusting profile on the fly, if that's the
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yeah.
um the first person I saw do that is a guy from out Elliot LeBeau with our original Maliko, where he was like attaching a line maybe from the front of the bar to the middle line connection on the bar, and he would like
Yeah.
grip it.
Yeah.
And he
Mhm.
was like, he's like, oh, it
Probably
really,
similar, yeah.
yeah. So, flattening the profile, having it do
Mhm.
different things. So that the concept is very, very real. And I fully expected, like, among the top 5 things on my like wish list of like, okay, how can I make the product better? Following like, okay, the Pai'ia's out. What would really excite me, and is like some sort of like power boost for getting on foil. For me, it was I feel like the flight character I want once I'm up on foil is pretty consistent. It's the same as I wanted an inflatable wing. Like the transition from completely sheeted out to just a light amount of power, like that's where I ride. So making that sweet spot as nice as possible, that's what I want all the time. The only time I want something different is to grind up on the foil. Like, what's going to get me up there? So I'm like, oh, some sort of completely different setting that is just going to grind me on the foil, and then I can disengage that, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So definitely dove deep into like, what is that? And I feel like more than anything, it was just informative of what gets us on foil and why. Like, it's really tempting to think, oh, it's profile curve. Like, the deeper the profile curve, the deeper it's going to sit back in the window, the more it's going to
Mhm.
pull us up on wind, or up on foil. The problem being, like, once you're up on foil, you don't want that. That's the opposite of what you want now. So it's like, that's where it would need to be some sort of profile change on the fly. But I didn't find it on all the hunting of like trying to get a water start profile. It 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 always became um it always led to stall. It always led to, okay, well, like, okay, it's pulling all the time now, but if I like sheet in at all, it'll just drop right
Yeah.
into stall.
Okay.
And so, like, where the net result of all of that on the current S3 model is, it led to us designing and tuning a thing such that you could, like, the sweet spot in angle attack on the bar is massive, because like that stall experience, bumping up against that again, it's like so ineffective for getting on foil, that if you can't just pull on it, you're bouncing on this board, the water's bumpy, there's all this stuff going on. Like, we needed to be able to just pull on this thing and get something from it, not have to be like, oh, a little bit careful with this. And it'd be like riding too narrow of a board. Well, I can't really pump the board because I'll fall off. Like, there's just a sweet spot toward like, okay, I can totally pump because the board's stable. I can totally harf on the bar because it's not sensitive to stall. So, yeah.
So you'd say the S3 is an easier parawing than the Pai'i'a? Because the Pai'i'a was too difficult. I wasn't ready for the Pai'i'a, I think.
I'm gonna own that. I want your unedited, crazy real, like, feedback on the Pai'i'a. Like, before I tell you my experience, I mean, I've already touched on my experience and why I did it, but tell me how what is your question of, from before, is a Parawing designed for Maui? Does that translate to Matt's riding? So did it?
I saw the video of Gwen, and I was like, "Wow, I want that Parawing." And then I got it, and I got it in 5.3 because the other ones that I had, the single one, were 4. And I heard that you need a bigger one, so I got it, and I went out. I was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be epic, super upwind," as he said. And then I couldn't get it flying, and then I was like, "Man, I fell in the water to get the water out and get back." And then the wingtip started like flapping in. It's like, doesn't work. I gave it to Baltz, ridiculous. Of course, he managed. But I gave it to other ones as well who were better than me, and they had some problems as well. So I thought, well, it's not just me. And then we wrote some emails back and forth, and you said you have to have it higher up. I tried that, but maybe, it was also the session. If it would have been a lot of wind, it would have been different. But it was just like maybe just a bit at the low end. So I had some trouble, and then once the wind was coming, then it worked. But as I always have 2 or 3 parawings with me when I'm out, I could just downsize, and then with the harness, it's not hard anyway on the arms. Then I thought, well, if I want to stash it, the 5.3, it's massive. So I think for me, it was mainly a problem of skill. Like I wasn't ready to use that parawing, I think. And also it was quite big, and I should have used a smaller one, but just in big winds, basically. That's my version of the Pai'i'a. I curse a lot. Like, I hope you didn't hear it.
I mean, there's so many super relevant points in what you just described. Like on the swearing side, somebody forwarded me a video. I feel like it was by a content creator that goes by Oceanbound on the east coast of the U.S.
Okay.
And if I'm this is a while ago, but if I'm remembering right, he was dropping the F-bomb like right on camera. I think he even had a gnarly name for the Pai'i'a. So you're not alone. And the other thing that made me smile you described is like watching Gwen, who's a super freak of talent, and then giving it to Balls, super freak of talent. Like what those guys are going to do with gear doesn't apply to the rest of us.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like, and I guess it was also informative, like when you mentioned the size, double skins working at a crazy lower angle of attack. That lower angle of attack meaning you're going to like way up size. So you're going to end up with a 6-meter double skin when you could ride a freaking 3.5 in a single skin. Like, who does everybody want to do that? Certainly not everybody wants to do that. Will that be the case in racing in the future? It is already. I mean, I don't know how it was for the light winds at the most recent race, but last
year, like at the Defi wing.
Right. I mean, that was, I feel like that was the first like real example of foreshadowing the future, which like, I'm not sure, some people don't see, which I totally don't get, because I'm like how does anybody look at a Parawing and not go, oh, that's a kite foil kite, like without the lines, like all the performance is there. But that discipline will be not just flying one size or 2 sizes bigger Parawing, like it'll be twice as big or more to really be competitive. I mean, already if you look at somebody who's going to like go kiting on a hydrofoil with a kite, like they're not riding the same size as somebody's going to go who racing. I mean, like such different disciplines. Anyway, losing my train of thought, my point there, but the area. So while the Pai'i'a being so much bigger and having to ride that bigger size, and I feel like the biggest area of struggle was how it's the opposite. is the opposite of the S3 in terms of user friendliness in trim. Like the nature of that design is, like when I ride it, even now, I'm like, oh wait, I've got to let this thing fly itself. It doesn't want input from me. That'll be pilot error. Like if I just let it fly off front of the bar and I just let it give me the lift generation that it will. And a part of that is like Maui flat water, not dealing with the choppy onshore nar. And I was riding a bigger board at that time. Like I had and still have, a 6.0 90 liter, super early takeoff, can pump it up kind of board that the Pai'ia''s limited low end. I could compensate for it, you know,
With
between
your
me
legs.
and a board and a foil. I didn't need much from this. But like even to look at its strengths, like we just launched the S3, it would have sat alongside a Pai'i'a 2 if we felt like that's what would make some riders smile the most. But my description of like for me, I would have to let the Pai'i'a fly itself. What it didn't want is like, let me sheet in and go. That would quickly lead to stall, like let it fly forward, do these kind of things. Where the additional bridle support on a single skin allows that optimal profile shaping, but you can sheet in on it. The differences between a single skin and a double skin, like I can't even explain why. I haven't been able to crack the code on tuning or designing from scratch a double skin that I can pull in and have propulsion, to have drive, something I can, take from my hands, my harness, whatever, through my body and push into the foil to grind up wind. And so while in theory a double skin looks amazing there, that lack of being able to drive it into your foil for us just makes the single skin a better overall experience. When you actually compare the data with the double skin and hybrids, I'm going faster, but I'm not going as high. So the VMG ends up kind of the same, but I'm going slower, but I'm going higher because of that drive and that push into the foil on the single skin. So it's just like, if the double skin isn't giving us something more, and yet we need to ride a bigger skin, bigger size, it's trickier to pilot. It's just like no contest.
Because when I tried it in Switzerland, and once it worked, I thought, well, I'm going to be smart about it. And I was in Italy, and I would unfoil with foil drive and then whipped the Pai'i'a out because I thought I don't need low end for that.
Oh.
The problem there was I had a really small board, like a 20-liter pump foil board. And once I fell, because yes, I fall, then it was really hard to get the water out, because when I lifted it with the water in, then I sank so much with that board. So that was really difficult. And I could also not really put it away because there was some air and some water inside. So I cannot stow it in the pouch. Yeah, that was... Well, I learned some things.
How do you
at
get
least.
how do you get
As
going
you
on
said,
a 20-liter foil? Do
this
you have to
S3,
dock start that and then engage the
it
foil
has
and then
similar
engage the wing, or are you
characteristics in terms of
from the water?
or like when you're flying it.
No, how do you even get started? Like, do you have on a 20-liter foil drive board? Is that a dock start only or a beach start, or can the foil drive?
You foil drive it
At 20
like
liters?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I lie on it, and then yes.
Skills.
But then once I was in the water, I really couldn't get back up because I didn't get the water out, and But at least I got it flying, and I really felt how it could be. Yeah. But let's come back to that S3. Who are people that gonna buy this wing? Are those gonna be the ones that, they still have the Maliko? Maliko still works. Who's gonna get the S3 then?
I don't know. Up to the rider. I mean, I mean, we're just trying to like with everything we offer, it's just like our current benchmark of this is what we ride. This is the the best, our favorite performance, what we feel like is most effective, what's making us smile the most. So it's up to each one of us to be like, do I need a new Parawing or not? I don't know.
Yeah, we always do. The biggest size is a 5'3",
Mhm.
and right now, like the 5, I usually, when I review a Parawing, it's the 5, something between 4.5 and 5, because I feel like with the bigger Parawings, I feel problems with the pairing or difficult things better than with the smaller ones. I have a 7.3 that I frequently use. Why didn't you go bigger?
So for me here on Maui, like something into 4-ish size is sort of my light wind size for
Yeah.
for what I've described as like the easier conditions here. And it's not just me. It's common that, you know, like you upsize your board, you upsize your foil, you can pump up.
Yeah.
It's pretty uncommon to see bigger than that. What's very different for me is some light wind locations that we regularly have been going to for years. And there, a 4 meter feels small. It's like, it's a good day if I can get out on a 4. And so I don't know, like we've worked on different sizes and different ranges in the past, and this continued to be the case. It's kind of, for me, it was the same thing inflatable winging. Like if I needed bigger than a 4 in my inflatable wing, we used to offer in first generation inflatable wings, we had a 5 and we had a 6, and then it was just like a 5. Like it became to me like, if I need bigger than 4, that's a specialty product for me. Like that's a light wind. This thing's it's got a very specific job to do. And for us, that's what this was giving us, the get up and go. Bigger, I don't like, honestly, I've never made something as big as 7. So, or flown. So I might be missing out. I don't know.
No, man. If you, I wouldn't use it if I didn't have to use it, basically. But sometimes we have these 10 to 15 knot days, and I just want to get out and foil, and not even like we don't have any bumps here with that wind, but just like learning some things.
So I've got a question related to that then. What would be for you personally the advantage of riding a 7-meter Parawing in those threshold conditions versus pumping up a wing?
Well, 2 things. One is the pumping up the wing.
Ah,
No,
fair.
but
Fair.
when I go out, I did a downwinder at Lake Garda, and I went out with a 4.3 to start, and then the wind picked up. So I changed to my 2.5. It was like over 40 knots measured, but I still had my 7.3 in the back just because, you never know. Suddenly the wind drops to 10 knots maybe, and I just want to have that little backup to just get back either upwind or just to shore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. I'm thinking around just lapping off a beach, free riding or surfing, but yeah, in a downwind application, absolutely, that makes sense.
But yes, even like with the 7 in these 10 to 15 knots, for me, parawinging is so much fun. And now, yes, I like winging again, and gonna probably get a wind wing. But the visibility, if you have a parawing, you see your riders around, and with the wind wing, it's just you ride like this basically. And before a maneuver, you have to lift the wing to see if anyone's there. With the parawing, it's just you don't have to do that. I love it.
Yeah. For me, one moving, I was gonna say moving target, but like evolving impression is like if you'd asked me a year ago at that light wind threshold, big sizes, maybe one of the reasons that I haven't spent the time in that space is I'm like, I mean, one thing I have done is like, what happens if I just go longer and longer and longer lines? Like, you can get a whole lot out of a 4 or a 5 meter by lengthening that. Like you mentioned, like, oh, like to have that big size in my pouch as a very useful device if I'm doing a run and a wind change, like a line pack would be like way more compact even.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, man. I have just like 1 or 2 questions left because you have your session soon. How often do you look at other brands, and do you maybe test them as well, or have other people test it? And the real question is, do you look at other brands and they're like, well, that was a good idea. That should have been my idea.
None of that last part. Because I mean, I'm just one guy. So like the more guys and gals and good ideas, the better for sure. I do try to stay informed of like gear releases, innovations, progression. Like I'm super interested in that. It's hard because I'm otherwise like not keeping up with the content going online. Like there's a gazillion riders doing a gazillion amazing things, and it's just too much. So like my focus is on the gear for sure. I do love trying everything I can get my hands on. It's so interesting. And you know, yeah, it just gives me a sense of like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, um, my brother, I ride with him often. He's a photographer. He's not a part of the business per se. He rides for the joy of it. Where was I going this in relation to trying other things? I guess in that, like, as a photographer, he's a bit of an artist, and he's like, sometimes he's like, you're looking at your gear all wrong. It's a piece of art. It's your creation. It's your expression. It's your song. Like, you don't need to look around. You don't need to compare. But I do feel like it, like the point of, for me, of what I'm doing is I want to love the gear. I want it to do exactly what, you know, we all just want to have the best time on the water. So like, if there's something out there that's doing something well, it's like, I want to know, like, oh, I know when I started board riding Maui, it was with a singular product, a kite. I'm like, I'm not going to make multiple models, make different things. Like, I just want to make what I want to ride. And if I don't want to ride my own design, if there's something better, great. Like, there's no more board riding now. I'll go ride that. Like, it was only because it was a completely selfish, like, I want the toys that I want to play with. So yeah, if there's a better toy
Nice.
out there, awesome. Good. Bring it on.
Awesome. Are you ever on the water and then come back and it's like, that was a great session, done? Or you always think like, that was a great session, but maybe I could change this, could do this. Maybe I tried that.
Wow. Do you design gear too?
No.
But that you totally get that is super cool. I don't know how many people would have arrived at that question. Yeah. Like most of the time I'm out there and like thinking about the gear and, oh man, how do I get what I want? How do I get closer to that? What do I need to change? What's going on here? Why? That's a big part of my writing for sure. But there are the days, like, I feel like I'm in that sweet spot right now that
Nice.
the S3 is out and I'm giving myself the space of being like, okay, exhale,
Nice.
like, just go ride now, just enjoy. So, I will actually, I'll share, and bro, it's got to be so late for you. So, I hesitate to share, but I said earlier that for me, the spark for parawinging was to foil surf a wave. And we had a a crew of super active kite floaters. You know, it was like we all congregated at the same beach every day. We would ride. And it started to become this mission of we were all hooked on hydrofoiling. We're at a place where in our winter season here, there's waves. And so it's like, oh, we want to ride these waves. We're doing all these things of like trying to get to what we now have with the Parawing years later. And, you know, we do things like one kiter would like tow another kiter. Like it was so hard from the water start. It was easier to ditch one kite and then tow somebody. And that was still hectic and hard. And to your question of like the good sessions where it's just like the mind goes blank and like I get filled with this like gratitude, remembering like, oh man, the me then would never believe what we're all doing now with these Parawings. This is exactly what we were after. Like, what a great time to be alive.
That's a perfect place to end this podcast. Thank you very much, Greg, really. And thank you for taking your time to talk to me. Also inventing this sport, like giving us these amazing toys, and all the listeners, viewers, if you're still here, maybe, you know, give it a few stars or write a review. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Greg, for sharing. And I hope you have a good session this afternoon, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.